Welcome back,
This
everyone.
is Timeout with uSTADIUM. This podcast is for you sports super fans, for you sports debaters, and yes, you, the sports opinionators or hot takers. We take your calls live on air and answer questions directly from the uSTADIUM app. Get it at uSTADIUM.com. Join in on the conversation with Brianna, Nick, and Frankie. Timeout with uSTADIUM starts now.
Hey, welcome back, fam. You're back on Timeout with uSTADIUM. We just got a duo crew today. It's Nick and myself. Bria's out again. The amount of vacations she takes, it's just unreal, honestly.
I think she's still crying about the Celtics.
Yeah, absolutely. What the hell's going on there, by the way? We're going to get into that later. That's actually one of our fan app questions. So, Danny boy, you won that question, brah. So we'll get into that a little later. But yeah, welcome back to Timeout with uSTADIUM. Make sure you subscribe to the channel at uSTADIUM on YouTube. Make sure you download our app if you don't have it. I don't know what the heck you're doing. You can get our app at uSTADIUM.com/download. We go through topics every show. I'm going to throw some topics in to Nick and to the chat. Make sure you guys comment. We'll feature your comments. We'll feature your tags. We'll feature your app requests. Just make sure you post them in the live chat. And as always, make sure you like the stream. All right, Nick, today's a big quarterback day. We're going to get into a lot of QB talk today. And we are going to release our top 10 quarterbacks. We got 10 of them. Yeah, I honestly think our list is great. I don't agree with the fan vote, the 10th pick. I don't agree with it. But everyone else I basically agree with. I know you disagree with some things, so we'll get into that after this first segment. We'll kind of warm it up a little bit. I'm going to throw you a little bit of a softball. I know you wanted to talk about this, but again, everyone, you're listening to Timeout with uSTADIUM. It is Nick Spano and Frankie V in the house. All right.
I want people to call us and talk to us about their quarterback picks too. We never get anybody who wants. They do a lot of talking, and Twitter fingers are always running fast. But call us or hop on the show. Put your face out there. 678-675-5118. Give us a call on Timeout with uSTADIUM. We want to get all of you guys involved. So. Let's see what you think too. But yeah, let's talk quarterback. I mean, I kind of feel football coming back a little bit. I don't know what it is, but I feel it in the air a bit. Maybe it's the weather.
Yeah, I think it is. And what are we? We're like less than 100 days now before the start of the season. So this is exciting. This is really
Summer
exciting.
flies by.
Oh yeah,
Summer always.
We're halfway through the year, 2021. it's basically we're halfway through. It's like I still think we're in 2020 still. I'm never gonna get rid of that year, that's for sure. But yeah, let's get into it. Topic one. We're gonna talk right now about quarterbacks who we think are under the most pressure going into 2021. We each have two quarterbacks who we just think are under the most pressure and who we think are in, likely a make or break situation come this next season. Nick, I'm going to throw it to you, though. Who are the two quarterbacks that you have that are under the most pressure in 2021? Who do you got?
So it's two guys, and when you say the most pressure, I don't mean that these guys are bad or they're great or I don't like them or whatever. But when I think of the question most pressure, and I think of who I want to say, it's obviously I don't think of the older guys who are on their last legs like an Aaron Rodgers. Obviously he's under pressure, but I think of a guy who's mid-aged, has been in the league for a while, has been with their team for a while, and that team just can't get over the hump with the first guy. And the second guy is a guy who's heading into like his third or fourth year with their team, has had some changes around him, and now it's time for him to step up a little bit. So the first guy I'm going with is Derek Carr in Vegas. It's a big year for them. They're opening a new stadium. Obviously, they get Monday night with the Ravens week 1. All eyes are on them. The NFL is pushing this Vegas thing obviously really hard like they are LA. I think the draft is there this year. So they want people to watch the Raiders. The Raiders are a brand name in football. Derek Carr has been good, not great. They've won a few games, not enough. Hasn't won playoff games, nothing too serious, no serious runs. John Gruden is, still coaching the NFL, still making $10 million a year. The Raiders are always out there making different big moves, whether they're good or not. And Carr, to me, is a guy who, he can get it done. and he's pretty good. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's anything special, but there's a lot worse than Derek Carr. But he's got to start winning football games, and I know they don't do a great job of, supporting him. So be it if you want to say that, or maybe the Raiders organization, obviously with their questionable draft picks, cutting half of, if not almost all of their offensive line this year. Yeah. But to me, it's time for him to put up. I know there's always a lot of excuses, and he's got the Carr lineage, obviously with his brother. So you always think of the Carr last name as like a negative, connotation to it because of what his brother has done. But he's much better than his brother, and he's a good starting NFL quarterback. But it's time for him to win real football games in the NFL, not go 8-8, 9-7, win 11 games, win a playoff game, and then, make some noise and cement yourself, because John Gruden's always looking at the next guy. He's always looking to upgrade. And, every year we go through, is Carr done? Are they going to trade him? And there's rumors, and they always at the end of the day say, no, we love Derek Carr. We don't want to move on from him. But it's time for him to put up. And this is the year for him to really do it. I keep hearing Julio Jones and the Raiders linked together. So obviously if they go out and they get Julio, you really have no excuses. And the second guy to me is someone who has revitalized his career the past 2 years with this new move to Tennessee. And that's Ryan Tannehill. I think it's time again for him. They went on the run to the championship game. Yeah. And last year they took a step back in a weird season, but now you lose Corey Davis, who's your second best receiver. You lose Jonnu Smith. You lose your offensive coordinator, a guy who really kind of is credited for saving Tannehill after the Adam Gase debacle. So now it's like, all right, we propped up Tannehill to where he's a quality starting quarterback, a winner. Obviously, that Derrick Henry. They have A.J. Brown. They're also another team rumored in the Julio Jones. One of those two quarterbacks will probably end up with Julio in a couple days or weeks. But I think now it's got to be, is Tannehill going to be the guy who's along for the ride and hands it off to Derrick Henry 30 times a game and you have to ride Henry in the playoffs? Or is he going to be a guy that says, I'm going to go toe-to-toe with a Mahomes, easier said than done, obviously, and win games in the playoffs, not just be there? So those two guys, again, good quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying these guys are bad or busts or anything. But to me, it's time for these guys. It's all about winning in the NFL. You can play well. You can pad stats. You can be looked at as a solid guy. But at the end of the day, it's time to win real football games and be that representative in the AFC or give the Chiefs a run. And those two guys, to me, are middle-aged, kind of teetering on like the back end of their careers. They're not close. They're closer to 30 or at 30, than they are to 25. So those two guys, to me, I'll be looking at to win some real football games this year.
Nick, Ryan Tannehill has a bad season. What do you think happens? You think the Titans are going to be looking at potentially other options, or?
You always should be looking at other options unless you have a Patrick Mahomes or a Justin Herbert, who we'll get into, or an Aaron Rodgers. But maybe shouldn't use Rodgers anymore. But unless you have the guy you are 100% sold on, you should always be looking for that guy.
What's interesting is we were having a conversation on the phone the other day. I actually like when we talk on the phone. You don't pick up my calls sometimes. I don't know how many times. A
little 16-month running around everywhere. He probably has my phone.
If you want to speak with Nick, you have to call him 5 times. He'll pick up once. That's the rule. Yeah. It's the rule of 5. But no, we were talking about this. Sometimes you get stuck with a quarterback like Derek Carr or Ryan Tannehill because they're good enough to start, and you can even build around them, but they're not good enough to win Super Bowls, and they're not going to lead a bad offense. So it's difficult. It puts a team in a rough situation when you have a guy like that. And like our team, the Jets, we had that issue with Darnold. I feel like it's like, how good is this guy? You got to try to find the next one. So, but again, everyone, you're listening to Timeout with uSTADIUM. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and you like the stream. Get in the chat. We'll feature your comments throughout the show. I'm going to go quick. My 2 ones are on 2 offenses that should be dominating defenses this year. One is Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones, he is under immense pressure. I am still surprised that the Giants are confident enough to go into the season with him as their quarterback. You look at what they've done with bringing in Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, drafting him, Saquon's coming back. he better deliver Daniel Jones this year. He can't have a season like last year where he had under 3,000 yards passing. That's not going to fly. He's got one more year, or else I'm telling you the Giants are going to be – he might not even make it through the entire season if he plays bad. I'm telling you, look out for that storyline in New York. That's going to be a big one. The second one is in a similar situation, just like an older version of Daniel Jones, I feel like, situation-wise. It's Kirk Cousins. You have an offense there with Thielen, Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook. You better deliver, man. You're not going to get a better trio than those three guys in terms of two wide receivers and a running back. He better have a year next year that is not about stats, because Kirk Cousins every year seems to put together a nice stat line. Even last year, you have 4,200 yards, 35 touchdowns. The issue with Cousins, though, is making big plays in big spots and winning games. Where is he at the end of a game, even mentally speaking? Like, is he in this? Is he that leader? Does he know how to win football games? Is he going to lead the Vikings to the playoffs again? That's going to be a big storyline in Minnesota next year. And if he doesn't, I honestly think if he doesn't lead them to the playoffs, they're going to look at, in other directions.
Yeah, drafted Kellen Mond.
They drafted Kellen Mond. They already are looking in other directions, So, that's who we think. Those are our four guys. Put it in the chat. Who do you guys think is under the most pressure next year? We'll feature that right now.
I saw a few in there. I saw Sam Darnold one someone mentioned. Yeah, I mean, Darnold's a different case here because, well, I guess maybe, Frank, what you said about Daniel Jones, he hasn't, he had a few flashes. Cousins, Tannehill, and Carr have all played really good football in the NFL. Darnold and Jones are fighting for their careers at this point. So those other three guys can easily go out. Let's say those teams decide to move on from the three of them for whatever reason. They'll find another starting job. Jones and Darnold might not. So that's a different type of pressure on a Sam Darnold and a Daniel Jones. Those guys are like fighting for their careers in the NFL, not to turn into like, the Jameis Winston abyss and end up like struggling to back up or, be a spot starter somewhere. So that's a different type of pressure than these other guys are facing. These other guys, they've proven themselves to at least be able to put up, 3,500, 4,000 yards and win some games. But, they're on the level of, all right, I can put up stats, but I got to win real football games.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, it's been so long, it seems like, since the season, man. I don't know what the hell I've been doing myself since, honestly. But all right, we are about to drop our top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. I'll tell you right now, guys. Oh, we got the chat popping. We got Wesley. Oh, Wesley Sykes is in the chat. What up, dude?
That's a throwback.
That's a throwback. He's on Periscope. Wesley, we used to do shows with Wesley back in the day in Portchester, the Flight 5 show.
Man.
We had a Patriots. He's a Patriots fan.
He was a spy for us.
He was running a Jets show with us, and he didn't tell anybody that he was a Patriots fan. It was like a low-key thing for him.
Yes, Wes used to write for Jets Insider, so he was covering the Jets for the longest time. So, bringing him onto the show was kind of just like a natural fit. So he's a flexible guy, Wes, and that's awesome. I haven't talked or seen Wes in forever. What's up, bro?
Yeah. Remember you tried to sabotage him, Nick, when he was at the Jets?
Yeah. Russian spy.
Wes, one day we're going to get
Spygate.
Wes, one day we're going to get you calling into the show. You have to talk about Nick's sabotage campaign on you at the
I just don't like Patriot fans. I'm trying to do the same thing to Bree on our show, but we never see her, so.
All right, let's get into it, guys. We're going to drop our top 10. We have a little video. Splash got the music in the background. We're gonna go through it now. We'll give you 1 to 10. We'll give I'll give a few numbers here and there, and yeah, we want your guys' opinions on this top 10.
And we know Splash is gonna have some complaints. I feel like Splash is the most complaining nice guy ever. Like, he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet, but he always has something to say. Like, he's a contrarian, so I'm sure he'll have something to say. I mean, this is an obvious one, right?
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes,
number one. Patrick Mahomes. I don't think you can debate this at all. I mean, he is just unbelievable. I mean, was an All-Pro once so far, by the way, which is kind of interesting. I was looking at a first-team All-Pro, but he'll probably shatter that in a few years. 4,700 yards last year, 38 touchdowns. He was just incredible. Super Bowl MVP on his resume. I mean, this guy I've never seen a quarterback like him. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think anyone has.
The off script plays, it's just like demoralizing playing him because, there's been games where you feel like you've got him where you want him and he just pulls it out of his ass.
Yeah. And then number 2, we got Mr. Aaron Rodgers, last year's MVP. I think that's pretty standard there as well. Aaron is just Aaron, I guess. We'll see if he's still doing it. He led the league too in completion percentage with 70.7%, which for a guy that is throwing the ball downfield to lead the league in completion percentage is just
never turns it over. Is like the most fascinating stat to me is when you look at Rodgers. Even 2 years ago when he had that like average year, I think he only had 3 interceptions. For a guy like that to who's slinging it around, throwing it, just doesn't turn it over.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This one, Nick, I want to get your opinion on this. Russell Wilson third. Too early. You would put him later. Yeah,
I would put him a little late. Look, I like Russ. I think he's great. Another guy off script, another guy who can just pull a rabbit out of his hat. Those downfield, one of the most accurate downfield passes I've ever seen. I think, I see a little bit of his game, maybe it's his age catching up to him. Maybe it's the hits he's taken, the terrible offensive line. Maybe he's just not very happy there. But towards the end of the year last year, you saw, him slow down just a little bit. And when someone like that, if his legs start to, maybe just a little bit heavier, you never know. I mean, to me, I wouldn't be so Russ. I would have him probably out of the top 5.
He was last year's first half MVP, guys. Just throwing that out there. The fourth now. This is going to be one that people on the app I know are going to go nuts about because we have like Tom Brady fan club and then Tom Brady hater fan club on uSTADIUM. I don't know where else you were to put him. I don't know. Splash, where do you have Brady on yours? We have Splash's top 10 on the bottom. You have to put Brady in the top 5. Last year, he crushed it. He had, outside of winning a Super Bowl, he had 40 touchdowns and 4,633 yards. How do you not put him top 5?
I get
40 touchdowns,
especially the young crowd. I feel like the young kids want to just be very hip and say something trendy. Splash, putting Brady at 13 or 14, which you said, is ridiculous. I don't care who he had at receiver. He came and won a Super Bowl with one of the worst franchises ever.
Yeah.
Came in and completely turned that team around. It's crazy.
We're going to get Splash on. And Watson's 5. Everyone, Splash has him 3rd. I don't know why. We're going to get Splash in after this to argue some of his points. But
big asterisk here with Watson.
Yeah, seriously.
If he's there, he's great, man.
He had over 70% completion last year as well, though, which is super impressive. The completion percentages with these guys these days are incredible, by the way, if you look at them. These guys today are just on another level. 6 is Josh Allen. I wanted to put Josh Allen higher. He was the AFC MVP last year. I don't think there's any questions asked there. And everyone talks about his accuracy being an issue, but he had a 69.7% completion percentage, which was 4th best in the NFL. This guy can do everything. I think Josh Allen is a top 5 quarterback. I'll stick by it. I'd put him above Watson at this point, and I'll put him above Brady. That's just me.
I think it's a fair spot for him for a 6. So I thought that was a fair one. Yeah, I mean, Allen's great. I mean, Allen had a great MVP, like you said, MVP type season last year and led the Bills to the championship game. But again, I don't know if he's that guy who's going to, on his best day outduel Patrick Mahomes. And that's what you're looking for with a quarterback now. And this one, I don't know. I'll let you take this one here, Frank. Lamar Jackson at 7.
Well, no, what
I have him at 10, so it's not that big of a jump.
It's not that big of a.
I mean, yeah. I was looking through the list, and after 10, you have that Baker, Kyler, Matt Ryan, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins grouping, and I think Lamar, I would rather have him because of what he can do, extending plays and running the football. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen running the ball, and that's better than Michael Vick in my opinion. I just think he's
over 1,000 yards again last year.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I don't know if that has more to do with the type of league we're playing in currently. These guys are playing in currently, but Lamar, when the game shrinks, the moments get bigger. He seems to play worse, so that's why for me he's at the bottom half of the 10, way bottom.
There are a lot of quarterbacks like that, though, Nick.
Yep. Sure.
I know we always judge these guys in the highest echelon. We judge them versus the Bradys and whatnot. They're not. Most of these guys aren't. There's only a few in the league. So, but I like
Dak
see your
better
point
at
as well.
8.
Really?
Like,
So you'd rather have?
Yeah, I think if you put Dak and Lamar in a vacuum, I know Dak. You can argue he has a worse supporting cast. Definitely has a worse supporting cast than Dak does. But coaching in the NFL matters, and the Cowboys have had some terrible coaching in the past. Forever since Jimmy Johnson. It feels like, but the pressure that comes with playing quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys and what Dak has done as a 4th-round pick. You saw what he meant to that team last year when he went down. The team was like the biggest joke in football besides for the Jets and Jaguars. So I think it showed how good Dak was not being on the field last year. So 8, I think, is a good number for him. This is my guy. I mean, Frank, we talked about this. Justin Herbert. If I was starting a team and I can't have Patrick Mahomes right now, age factoring in type of play, body, like I'm taking Justin Herbert. So having him, I think he was 9 here. I know people are going to say he played 1 year, whatever.
I mean,
but going into 2021,
he could only play 1 year. It was his only year, and he crushed it. I mean, he's awesome. Someone actually texted me
for today.
Someone texted me, "Would you trade Zach Wilson for Justin Herbert right now?" Just like that. I go, absolutely. I mean, I love Zach Wilson, but I mean, you got to make that move, right? I mean, you're going to get guaranteed top, echelon type of quarterback. That's Justin Herbert. And then 10 was our fan vote. There he is, Nick's boy. Matt Stafford. I don't like it. Yeah. We'll get into it when we put the list up officially. I think Kyler Murray's should be there. And I even think maybe Baker, Matt Ryan. Is Matt Stafford better than Matt Ryan? Honestly, guys, like, I don't know. Matt Stafford had enough chances. I was a big Matt Stafford guy for a while. He hasn't delivered. He hasn't done crap in terms of winning games in the NFL. Sorry. You can't,
I think you're projecting, with a list like this going into 2021, you're projecting where they currently are. If he was still on the Lions, I wouldn't put him in the top 10. But I think if you put him on the Rams with their coaching staff, that system, the supporting cast, I think he is going to play at a top 10 level. So I agree with the fan vote on that one. What was the percentages, Frank? Do you know what that final fan vote percentage
came
out to? Was he far away?
Stafford got like 40% of the vote, and then you had second was Kyler at 34. All right, so Splash, we got you in.
Oh, hey.
All right, Splash tends to have these when we come up with these top 10 lists in house. He's a
contrarian.
Yeah, he starts throwing a hissy fit. He's arguing with me, calling me stupid, saying he wants to quit. All this crap.
We're old.
So, yeah.
Old, or we've seen our better days.
Splash.
So
Splash, what's your issue?
Do you want me to start at the top or the bottom?
Go bottom. Go top down.
Okay,
Nick's the bottom.
Do it for Copa. Go top down.
Okay, let's go top down. Okay, Mahomes, Rodgers. I have Rodgers at 1. I don't really care if you have Mahomes at 1. That's fine. 1A, 1B. Totally
wait, you have wait. Why do you have? Hold on. We're not gonna skip over
wait.
That. Why do you have Rodgers at 1? You make it say, Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. He's on his own planet.
Pause.
Just throwing that out there.
Remember what you said, that Rodgers doesn't throw the ball away, right? He doesn't turn the ball over. He has a historically low interception rate, doesn't fumble. Mahomes also has that historically low interception rate, but the problem is the eye test. When you watch the Chiefs, A.J. Terrell dropped the easiest interception of all time. You see Mahomes hitting defensive players in the numbers. Let's say it's number 23, right between the 2 and the 3.
He's magic, though.
Rodgers, cool. So is Rodgers. I think Rodgers can do everything Mahomes can do, like 95% of what Mahomes can do, but Mahomes makes more mental errors. I think if you throw Rodgers behind that offensive line of the Super Bowl, they score more than 9 points. It's a 1A, 1B thing. Rodgers is 1A for me. He is as good as it gets in NFL history. He's going to maximize the good things and minimize the bad. He does that better than anyone.
One Super Bowl. He's been to 1 Super Bowl.
And
he's had great offensive lines.
How much of that is defense? You talk to Alex about this. The Packers.
What the hell do the Chiefs have on defense? Come on, Splash.
Okay,
you wanted the wow factor, the shock jock thing to do here. It's Mahomes going. No,
it's Rodgers. It is Rodgers. Rodgers.
It's not.
Okay. Okay. Let's analyze this in terms of big time throws, turnover worthy plays, stuff you do well, stuff you do poorly. In terms of stuff they do well, Mahomes and Rodgers pretty close. You can argue Mahomes is a little bit better, maybe a little bit better arm. That's fine. But in terms of things they do poorly, things they screw up, how many times do you lose a game from Aaron Rodgers? You never. like ever. How many times do you lose a game from Mahomes? Not often, because the defensive players don't catch the freaking football. The Atlanta game, they lose that game if AJ Terrell can catch a football. Mahomes had, 10, 12, 15, 20 dropped interceptions? I don't think Rodgers has 20 dropped interceptions in 5 years. So I get it. They don't happen. But to me, it matters. Quality of throw matters. If you have a quarterback...
There was a stretch, Splash, there was a stretch a few years ago, though, where Rodgers wasn't even... I mean, he hadn't hit like 300 yards passing. I think it was like in 10 straight games or something crazy. Remember when he was just throwing the ball out of bounds because he didn't want to take a sack or he was mad at the play calling? I mean, like, he doesn't... Mahomes lights it up any day of the week. Like, he's good for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns like clockwork, man. I'm just saying. All right, well,
it's a good debate.
I respect it. I'll take Rodgers because I know he's not going to screw it up. Mahomes... He has his not screwing up is because AJ Terrell is making an error, not because Mahomes isn't making the error. It's on when Rodgers screws up, he had 5 interceptions, and he doesn't really throw an interceptable ball. He's not throwing the ball he's not hitting AJ Terrell in stride, He's not
all right.
And Mahomes does that, and
what's
it's the I1B.
What's the next? So you disagree with Mahomes 1? Okay,
yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I have Watson at 3. I think Watson had an all-time caliber season last year, and if you take record out, he's in the MVP conversation. It's one of the top 10 quarterback seasons of all time. He was that good. He had no bad games. Rodgers had a bad game. Mahomes had a bad game. Every quarterback in the NFL last year had a bad game or 2. Watson had 0 bad games. His worst game was a bad weather game in Cleveland, and he was pretty doggone good that week. So I have Watson at 3. If he plays another down in the NFL, I don't know. But I have Watson at 3. Wilson, 4, 5, whatever. I disagree with Brady being that high. I'm not going to call you a moron like I said I would in the chat, but I understand the allure with Brady. I understand 4 playoff wins, 3 of them on the road, then the home Super Bowl. I understand.
That daggone Super Bowl.
Yeah, I understand he was really good in the Super Bowl.
Who cares about those things?
But
Splash wants to kill me today.
At a certain point, quality of roster matters. Quality of the guys around him matter. So offensive line, who was the best right tackle in the NFL last year? You can make a solid argument that it was Tristan Wirfs. Who had the best offensive line in the NFL? It's probably
Isn't this
Cleveland.
Interesting how this seems to travel with Brady everywhere he goes? Everybody just plays a little bit better, and now he's got everybody's just the best where Brady goes. Is there a coincidence there? Like, yes, I'll give you the receivers. I'll give you Evans and Godwin. Like, they were great without him. But the offensive line, their game, they step up their game, and Brady it's whether he commands it or demands it, you want to say. It's always that excuse for the guy. Like, I hate him. I hate Brady. He's ruined my childhood. So I'm not here blowing Brady. But there's got to be a 13 or 14 Splash, as you said. That's like
Splash. Another thing too. Brady had 40 touchdowns and 4,633 yards last year. So it's not like
everything.
It's not like he just he's up that high because he won a Super Bowl. I mean,
I understand.
The stats are there too. Like, what else do you want a guy to do? That's my question.
What else do you want Watson to do? Watson was statistically awesome, and he wasn't throwing to 3.
He didn't have 40 touchdowns. Watson.
He was statistically awesome. It's not his fault he doesn't have Mike Evans, who catches 10 touchdowns with Mike Glennon as his quarterback. Come on now.
Yeah, but Watson didn't win anything, man.
Lamar Jackson, Dak, Stafford. I don't know who you have above Brady.
Yeah,
you're really going to take these guys. Yeah. Run it real quick so we know who you have over Brady.
We have in my order.
It's at the bottom.
Mahomes, Watson, Wilson, Allen, Dak, Lamar, Baker, Carr,
and Cousins over Tom Brady.
Herbert at 11, Tannehill at 12, and I think I have Brady at 13.
You're high.
You're beyond high. Like, that is like lunacy. It's lunacy.
And Splash, you're a smart kid too.
I know. I feel like you're doing this
we respect your opinions highly. That's why we work with you and you're on the show, etc. But dude, give me a freaking break. Brady is top 10, no matter how you slice it. I don't care.
I want you to look at some of the talent-wise. I get the production, but I want consistency with production is hard. For example, Lamar Jackson led the NFL in passing touchdowns last year, or in 2019. But does that really hold weight? Like 36 passing touchdowns in 15 games is not that much different from 40 touchdowns in 16 games. And Brady gets pushed up because, he hit 40 touchdowns. 40 touchdowns in this NFL was, did Mahomes have 40? Rodgers had 45, 48? Like, there's some like layers to how valuable that is. And this is Tampa without much of a running game for a lot of the year. So you're going to throw the ball more. It's a very vertical offense. I think part of stats can be influenced by numbers. And I'll jump back to Lamar Jackson that he is so productive on the ground because the Ravens have the best scheme in the NFL. It's either the Ravens or the 49ers. So Lamar is probably a little overrated as a runner because Baltimore runs a great scheme. I think Brady is a little overrated in terms of statistical production because he has a vertical passing attack and he has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown, among others, and a good offensive line. And
Splash, quickly, does the leadership variable have any influence on your rankings at all? Does that matter at all? Like when you do these rankings, does that play any factor?
Okay. I don't think it plays too much of a factor. I can understand it playing a large factor in yours, and I respect that. I do think I tend to look more analytically, and I tend to look more at the sort of production in what they do, or in terms of like the throw-to-throw quality as opposed to pure production. Because I know all touchdowns are 6 points, but not all touchdown throws are equally as impressive. Some are more on the receiver, like Mike Evans winning at the point of attack or the catch point is okay. That's cool. Brady put the ball in a good spot that Evans could catch it, but Evans fundamentally made the catch. It's not a 75-yard bomb that, Evans is it's dropping in his lap sometimes. So I understand. And I do think if I were doing this in a perfect world, it would be a tier system. And I think Mahomes and Rodgers are tier 1, Watson is tier 2, and then like there's 10 guys in tier 3 that are interchangeable from 5 to 14. I do a weekly quarterback rankings. Like when Dak finished the year, when he got hurt, he was at 4 or 5, and that was fine at the time. Burrow was top 10 at some point. It fluctuates a lot, and I think with Brady, he has a lot of games that he's on the upper end of the spectrum. He has some games that he's on the lower end of the spectrum, and I think it's really interchangeable. From
Splash, let me ask
15.
And I'm going to ask both you guys this,
Okay.
by the way, and thanks, Splash, for your amazing top 10, because I know how much time you put into this stuff. But Dak Prescott, did Dak benefit at all from, I'm saying like rhetorically, but from that offensive line, from Zeke, from those wide receivers he has? Dak, everyone's so quick to put him in their top 10. I would drop Dak a few spots, in my opinion. I don't think Dak's if you want to talk about analytics and on the field eye test, I don't know if Dak passes all those, checks off all those boxes to me. I don't know.
I think what he does is he's, I don't know if he's the reason why, because they haven't won. Let's be honest. I think he puts it all together, and obviously he's the quarterback. But you saw, like I mentioned before, like you saw what he meant to that team last year when he went down, because they went to Andy Dalton, and Dalton, it's not like they went to, and I know Dalton got hurt, but even when Dalton was in there, he didn't look very good. And Dalton's a decent quarterback; he's a good backup. So it's not like they went from Dak to like a scrub, like an absolute scrub, and that team was just like impossible to watch. So seeing, like, because I was in agreement with you, Frank, I almost moved Dak up basically because he didn't play last year more than if he would have put the year together and they would have went 8-8 and he had 4,500 yards, because he was on track. I know it was only through like 5 games, but he had a great start to the season. Had that terrible injury, and then you saw like how bad that team was without him. But I think I would underrate how good of a leader Dak Prescott actually was, because in the beginning I thought he was just kind of like there, and that team was just kind of like chicken without its head on. They went in all different directions, a bunch of stars playing under Jerry Jones, but he does bring that team together. So I do give him a bit of credit for that. Is he a guy I think is eventually going to win a Super Bowl in Dallas? Probably not, because I just don't think that team is going to put it all together. And how long is Dak going to be playing at a high level? So I like Dak, and I think him not being there last year actually makes him look better in my eyes.
Well, I have a question. How much better is Dak than a guy that I wanted in the top 10, which is Kyler Murray? Kyler Murray is a top 10 quarterback. I know Splash is going to have another hissy fit here, but guys, Kyler Murray can do everything. Big arm, extremely effective scrambling. He's like he's like Pac-Man out there, and he makes the throws downfield. And considering where the NFL is today and how the game is so open, Kyler Murray's perfect for today's game. And I don't understand why people are so quick to put Baker in their top 10, but not Kyler Murray. I think if it was up to me, if it was up to you guys, you had to draft one of these guys, Baker or Kyler Murray. Who are you taking right now? I think it's Kyler Murray. And I honestly I wouldn't even think twice about it.
I mean,
I would probably lean Kyler.
Yeah, I'll go. I would also lean Kyler in terms of drafting and being able to build around the piece. But I do think what Baker does is what Baker separates himself from Kyler is that he actually produces on the field. With Kyler, I love watching Kyler film. He has the best college throw I've ever seen against Alabama in the semifinal. He is an unbelievable runner. He is an unbelievable passer. He has as strong of an arm as I've seen. And I get that. The Madden package is all there. The attributes are all there. But what I find fault in is I don't always see it on Sundays. I always see Baker on Sunday. I always pick any guy in my top 10. I see them every single Sunday, whether they win or lose, whether they have 400 passing yards or 212 or whatever. I always see them produce. I don't always see it with Kyler. But from a raw trait standpoint, yeah, absolutely. Kyler is up there with Rodgers and Mahomes. He's up there. Like if you're redrafting guys right now, Kyler's a top 5 pick. He's up there with Mahomes. He's up there with Watson without the legal issues. And you're probably drafting him before Trevor Lawrence, who is a generational quarterback. Just tools alone.
I don't know about that.
Top 10, but I haven't seen the production and the tools haven't matched for me. The throw-to-throw consistency and the tools haven't matched for me yet. And he could absolutely compete for an MVP this year. He could absolutely take Arizona to the Super Bowl at some point while he's there. But to me, I need both A and B to be good, to be in the top 10. I haven't seen the production. The eye test hasn't matched how good I think Kyler can be. Now, am I overrating Kyler's skills? Maybe. I don't know. I think he is a phenomenal talent, but it hasn't translated on Sundays for me.
Big year for Kyler, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So this is his third year, and the Cardinals they have to have a better season than they had last year. I mean, 8-8 is fine, but
the
we'll
coach
see.
isn't any good.
I think the
he wasn't good
verdict's
in
still out.
college. I don't think he's any good. I think he's going to hold him back too.
I don't think he's bad. I think
he's any good.
You don't think Kingsbury's good at all? You don't like his offense or
no? Not a fan.
I don't. I think the jury's still out as to how
they are an interesting team. I agree with you. They have the pieces and they're adding the veteran talent, like even on the defensive side of the ball, which they desperately needed. The offense has the parts. Does it have is the scheme work? It didn't in college. It hasn't the first 2 years. You have Hopkins. You have some pieces. So, really no excuses for them going into 2021. But the excuse was the defense last year. It was terrible. Now you add Watt. I think they even signed Denard, the corner today. They added a few veteran corners. So I don't love Kingsbury. He's flashy. He's like he's young. He's good looking. You want him to be like McVay in St. Louis. In LA, he's just not, and he hasn't been. And there was a reason why he got fired in Texas Tech. I mean, he had Patrick Mahomes in Texas Tech and couldn't win.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they had a better year last year than they did 2 years ago, so he's gotten better. And I think drafting Kyler, a lot of people thought that wasn't a great idea at the time, and he's proven that wasn't the worst idea either, because I think Kyler can ball. But yeah, let's go on to next topic. So quarterback talk is over. Shout outs to everyone in the chat watching. This is Timeout with uSTADIUM. Make sure you guys like the stream and subscribe to the channel. If you don't have the uSTADIUM app, get on that ish. And yeah, our next topic, we're basically going to go into the NBA. I know Splash is a big NBA fan. My Knicks lost last night, and I'm pissed off about it. Oh my! I was watching at Supply House, my local bar in the area here on the Upper East Side, and I was very sad. I was pissed off. I was posting on uSTADIUM how it hurts, and it was an awful time. And the Knicks. Oh, I thought that was playing on my computer.
I have actually some hot takes about the Knicks. It's more from a New York sports fan than a Knicks fan, because I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm not a basketball hardcore fan. But I have, and Frank, I want to let you lead, obviously, because you guys are both more NBA than I am. But I have two points I want to make about the Knicks and the NBA. So I don't know when you want me to throw them in there or whatever, but I want you to get into it first, though, because I know you've been ready for this one.
Well, what's your take?
One is the Julius Randle hate is out of this world. Like I know, and look, I'm a Jets and a Mets fan, and when you have a little bit of success, you get a little overboard, and you expect so much more. But the guy has been the best player the Knicks have had in the past decade plus since Melo in his prime. And I see people saying the guy is trash and to get rid of him and like he's a bum. Like, yeah, he had a pretty shitty playoffs. Like, don't get me wrong, I agree with you. And I watched the Knicks in the playoffs, and I thought the energy was crazy, and that's what happens at the Garden. But to me, to sit there and rip Julius Randle with the roster, the Knicks roster sucks. That team sucks. I'm sorry, I watched them like probably 15, 20 times this year. RJ Barrett isn't any good, and I know he's young, and this is probably going to piss Knicks fans off. He's not. He's more of a problem than Randle is. You have no point guards. You have no shooters. And I thought Thibodeau had a terrible series too. So to put it all on Julius Randle,
series.
Yeah, and I love Thibodeau.
But Nick, this is the thing. The Knicks all year played this scrappy type of ball. It's a defensive game. They're not. No one on their team's an elite ISO scorer. Yeah, nobody on their team's really a great 3-point shooter. When you're depending on Reggie Bullock to hit threes, or you have Alec Burks. But Nick, Randle can't come in and play the way he's played 5 games in a row, though. You have to, you have to have a big game, though. And like to your RJ Barrett point, I'm with you there to an extent. I think RJ Barrett's got to get a lot better. I mean, why can't RJ Barrett come out and drop 35 in a game? It's not unheard of. I mean, but with Randle, you cannot have games like he had. And I know exactly what happened with Julius Randle. I'll tell you right now. It's very easy to diagnose the situation. He's a sloppy basketball player offensively, sloppy, just all over the place. When the defense tightens up in the playoffs,
that's what happens.
You're going to start losing the ball more often. Yep. When the defenders care a little bit more, that spin move you do where the ball's a little bit loose, that ball's going to come out in the playoffs. And that's what you saw with the Knicks and Randle. Yeah. It's just you had a team that turned it up defensively in the Hawks. Your defense was fine. The Knicks played good defense for the most part this series. Atlanta couldn't hit a shot in the first half last night. I think they were 3 of 17 from 3, and they were still up by 5. The Knicks just, without a point guard, without anyone that is able to ISO score, and the only guy you can depend on is Randle. Nobody shoots on
that team.
Yeah.
Like you had Alec Burks in the first game, who I was in a group chat where I was like, hey, I know I'm not the NBA guy, but this guy looks like a creative player on NBA Live. He doesn't even look like a real player. And he dropped, I think, 26 points because he was hitting his shots. Like, only reason why they were in that game in the first place. But in the NBA regular season, nobody cares. Like, you're playing games that are just going through the motions. You know who's going to make the playoffs.
It's like a glorified pickup game.
Yeah, and then you have a team like the Knicks this year who to Randle's credit, carried that team. Thibodeau did a great job, rallying them all together. It was a bunch of like misfits. They played tough. They played scrappy. It was fun to watch. And New York loves teams like that. That's why they loved, those 90s Knicks, because they were all scrappy. Obviously they had Ewing, but when you, like you said, when it gets down to the playoffs and Randle is seeing more, different looks and on defense and more double teams, and he's the focal point, and they're not going to let him beat you, and you have nobody else around you. What do you think is going to happen? So Randle is a guy you keep and you build. Like, you got to build around this guy. Get a shooter, get 2 shooters, get a real point guard in there, and you keep Randle.
Randall's a tough situation. We were just talking about being stuck with a quarterback like Derek Carr. The Knicks, you might be stuck with an offshoot, bad number one option in Julius Randle. Can he be the number two? Because
do they have any young players who you hang your hat on, though? You lose Randle this year, and then what happens? Because you're going to go and bank on, everybody wants to come and play at the Garden. No, they don't. They just want to come and beat the Knicks at the Garden. That's what they like. Yeah, nobody wants to play here. They don't. So you're going to go, you're going to let Randle walk, and who's going to be your 5 next year? You're going to have nobody again, and it's going to be a 20-win team.
Yeah,
you don't have a young player. It's not like you have a young guy who you're really excited about. Don't tell me RJ Barrett, because you can watch him as a casual NBA fan, and there's nothing to him. He's a nice player. He's decent. There is nothing in that guy's game that you say, I know this guy is going to be great. Like, look at the guys who were drafted ahead of him, even behind him, like Morant. That's a star. Like, I know you're talking about one of the best players and best young players. Barrett's nowhere on his level. Like, you can't expect RJ Barrett to be that young guy who you think is going to get you back to 45 wins next year. It's not going to happen. And don't fall back on that free agent garbage that they get into every year with the Knicks. You have a guy who came and performed, and he carried this team. He was the guy. Like, keep him, build around him, and he's young still, and he likes playing here. So get it done around him.
The thing is, though, what do you do adding pieces with Julius Randle? How do you make that work? Basketball, especially building a team around a big man, a point forward, it's not the easiest thing in the world. It gets difficult. You see the Milwaukee Bucks have had some issues over the years. They seem to finally have gotten over that hurdle. Bringing in Drew Holiday seems to mesh well with, a guy like Giannis. It's tough sometimes when you have that 4 that can play on the wing too. Anthony Davis.
It's a small game. It's a shooter.
Yeah,
it's a
in his
game.
past had issues. I mean, I remember when Dirk Nowitzki came in early on in his career, he couldn't find some pieces around him. But when it meshes beautifully. Like you've seen it with AD, with LeBron, obviously, but you saw it with Dirk that year in 2011. Now it's with Randle. The Knicks are going to have to figure out exactly how they're going to piece this team together. It has to start with the point guard. I mean, shout outs to D Rose. You were fantastic, man. Mm-hmm. I have no idea how you're even. I was thinking about it today, walking into the office. I'm like, D Rose must just be laying down, just sleeping right now. Like this guy. Well, he was limping last night. Like he had a rough series on his body. With the Knicks, it's going to be interesting. It's point guard. Point guard's everything.
How realistic is a guy like trading for Lillard or Booker or Donovan Mitchell? Like those are 3 guys who you mortgage everything for. You
got to go to a guy that the team that has issues with the team. Donovan Mitchell, for example, and the Jazz, they've been in some issues. He'd love to play in New York. He's a New York guy. He's from New York. He's from Elmsford. Yeah. So I mean, that'd be awesome. Getting him would be a lifesaver. But then you bring him in. Then Barrett's a wing too.
Barrett.
You play both of them, and then how do you play Bullock? And last night, what I was thinking too at the end of the game, quickly comes in. Shout outs to Cole Colony, whatever.
I can't pronounce. I know he said it was a different name. I forgot.
But yeah, he just dropped a comment. Quickly is dangerous from 3. When Quickly came in last night, I'm like, wait, where the hell has he been? Like, why didn't he play earlier in the game? Burks came in late, was hitting some shots. Yeah, I mean. He was, and point guards like Quickly. The thing about them is they're score first point guards. Mm-hmm. It is tough sometimes to mesh a team around a score first point guard that's not an elite scorer yet. Like you can't have a point guard who's not dishing the ball around, passing it around, getting guys involved, and not dropping 20 a night. Like you need a guy, if you're going to be a score first kind of point guard, you better be dropping 25 a night, or else you're kind of wasting the team at that point because players aren't getting involved. Everyone's watching you ISO it up. And
this happens with Westbrook's teams every year.
Similarly, yeah, exactly. Pronounce Colony.
Like Colony Pizza.
Like Colony Pizza, yeah. All right,
I agree. I would just like to see the Knicks get a guy like Devin Booker. Obviously, these teams aren't going to get rid of these guys, but if Mitchell came to New York and you obviously trade Barrett in that deal to get him and draft picks, which they have a bunch of, but like to get him and surround Randle, like I want to keep Randle, and I know I'm not, like I said, I'm not a Knicks fan and I'm not a diehard basketball fan, but you got to put a player around him who could score, the ball doesn't have to go through Randle when they're when it's a clutch time of the game. Like they were looking to get him the ball, and he was putting up terrible shots or turning the ball over. But that's not his game, and that's not on a winning team what it should be.
Nick,
he's
his field goal
piece to have. He was terrible. I'm not going to say he wasn't.
But this the thing. It's not terrible, Nick. It was atrocious.
I know.
You're talking about if you play like that in the NBA, if you come in and you shoot under 30% from the field in 3 or 4 games, you're not starting the 5th game. You're done. Mm-hmm. And if you play like that enough, you're not on a roster anymore. You can't shoot 29% from the field. And we were just laughing at Watch Nick TV comment on Twitch over there. He goes, Randle didn't shoot higher than my BMI in any game this series. He ain't wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that's funny. D-Rose looking at Julius Randle this whole playoff series.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Knicks were like a fun story, and it was cool to see them, but they weren't any good. We all know it. But Knicks fans, I'm a Met fan, I'm a Jet fan. Like I said, the Knicks and the Mets fans are very similar. Like their teams, they overrate them. When they get into the playoffs, they act like they've never been before, and they act like fools, so everybody laughs at them and wants them to lose. And then you get a guy like Randle who carried you there, and then how quick you forget because he has a terrible series because he isn't as good as maybe people think he is. And then this is what happens, and Knicks fans look like the joke of the league because of all the stupid shit they were doing at the Garden and saying to Trae Young, who just body bagged everybody. So that was my second point, was how foolish the Knicks fans looked, and I know they'll hate me for it, but I don't care. But it was fun.
By the way,
I thought watching the Knicks game at home and then the Hawks in their stadium, I couldn't watch that. There was no energy there. The Garden was on fire.
The Garden's awesome, but F Trae Young, by the way. F Trae Young. I can't stand that guy. He's awesome. I don't like him at all. I don't even think he didn't have an amazing series. He had the same series he had there, same numbers he had in the regular season. It was those other shooters that were killing us. It was Bogdanovich. It was Gallo. These 3-point. It was Hunter the last couple games. Trae Young did what Trae Young did. He dropped 29 points on 44%. That's Trae Young. So people are like, oh, Trae Young killed you guys. No, he didn't. He had the same numbers he did during the regular season. He had in the postseason. He didn't.
Couldn't the Knicks have gotten that guy Hunter?
Yeah, we could have. We could have gotten a lot of guys. All right.
I know. It's like the Jets quarterback list, the guys you pass, and it's like a Mount Rushmore of players that the Knicks could have had. Damn, Splash is dropping these memes.
I know.
Julius Randle, as soon as you got it.
All right, we're gonna go into the fan question. Fan question was you won, Danny Boy. We're actually gonna send you a T-shirt, so you have to be watching though. So Danny Boy, if you're watching the show right now,
3X.
Yeah. If you're watching, I don't think anyone wears a 3X anymore now. Only me and you. But Danny Boy, you won. So we're gonna answer your question. He wanted to know what the hell happened to the Celtics this year. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. A guy that Knicks fans actually wanted, and we didn't get, thank God. Kemba Walker happened. That's it. You want to know what happened to the Celtics outside of Jaylen Brown getting hurt in the playoffs, which obviously is detrimental because he's your second best player. But Kemba Walker happened. Kemba Walker is not someone, I don't know what's going on with the guy. He might be hurt. He might not be. I have no idea. He does not fit with that team. Since Isaiah Thomas, that Celtics team has not been able to figure out what they want to do at point guard. They went with Kyrie, then they went with Kemba. It just doesn't work. In my opinion, without a pass first point guard, they're not gonna have a good chemistry with Tatum, who can drop 50, with Jaylen Brown, who is a scorer also. You don't want another scorer at point guard. You don't want 3 scorers. See, the Brooklyn Nets work because Harden can pass. Harden likes to pass. Harden will have he'll have 15 assists. You don't want 3 guys out there that all want to score. Kemba wants to score. Jaylen Brown wants to score. Tatum wants to score. No one's moving the ball around. And, to get a little deeper into this, if you've ever played on a court before, now he's dropping Kemba memes. If you played basketball before, what's the one thing that you want early? Is you want the ball. You want to feel the ball. You want to touch it. You want to pass it around. If you don't if you don't touch the ball and you just get thrown a pass out of nowhere, you don't have a feel for the game. These point guards, some of them, they just score so much. No one else is involved. Then when they try to get them involved because they're cold, they don't shoot well. So you see that. I mean, you need a point guard, a real point guard in Boston. Kemba needs to go to a team where they stink and he could just go and drop as many points as he wants. He can't be on a team with Jason Tatum and Jalen that, he has to get them involved because he doesn't know how to get the chemistry moving on offense. He doesn't move the ball around enough. And that's what is really wrong with the Celtics outside of, I know Nick was all about that story with Brad Stevens. I mean, that's another situation altogether. We know some people that have some sources with the Celtics that are telling us that they hated Brad Stevens. I mean, players did not like him. So that's a total other situation. But there was a Brad Stevens issue there, and that's why he's not going to be coaching next year. He'll be running basketball operations, but he's not going to be coaching for that reason.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I think the freezing cold takes put up a tweet the other day was like, who would you rather like invest or give the keys to your franchise to? It was like Giannis or Brad Stevens was like just 2 years ago. He's like the Wonder Boy coach. And then, all of a sudden quality players leave Boston. They get the wrong players and they're not any good. So it's not, it's all about the players in the NBA. Like it's a players league and there's no surprise that Kemba Walker has been terrible and so have the Celtics. But like who thought the Celtics were going to beat the Nets anyway? Like why was that a big surprise? I was surprised they won a game.
Yeah, no, I know. I was too. I mean, that Nets team is just on another level, honestly. Like we've said this a million times, but like I've never seen an offense with that kind of firepower. You're talking about Kyrie, KD, and Harden. The other example that I was in a group chat that someone gave that was like that was Steph, KD, and Clay. The difference, though, between Harden, Kyrie, and Durant with Durant, Steph, and Clay is an off-pick, off-screen, catch-and-shoot kind of player. He's not a creator with the ball. He doesn't create his own shot necessarily. Not saying he can't. He's just that's not a forte of his. Kyrie, KD, and Harden, they're so good at creating their own shot. They might be the three best ISO scorers in the game. And they're all on the same team. So, I mean, they're going to be – the Nets are probably going to go
How do they lose? Like, that team can't lose. Like
the Bucks might give them some issues because they play defense. The Bucks play some D. Giannis is a monster out there. Drew Holiday is a good defender as well. They might give them some fits. But when those guys get hot, man, they'll drop 30 points in 5 freaking minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's ridiculous. So,
who's your finals prediction? Two teams.
I was thinking about this the other night, man.
It's hard to pick out of the West. I mean, obviously, everybody's going to pick the Nets, right? It's like out of the West.
I have to say, gun to my head right now, I'll go the Nets in the East, but I think the Bucks are right there, honestly. But I'll go the Nets. And in the West is tough, man. I'm honestly going to say I'm going to go with the Suns.
Wow, that'd be cool.
I think the Suns will beat the Lakers. I don't know if they'll beat them tonight, but I think the Suns will beat the Lakers. I like the Jazz as well, but they're missing something. I think if Booker's playing like that, Ayton's a monster. If Paul can stay healthy, that team is primed to go to the finals. I mean, what's going to happen, I think, this year is the Nets are going to play like a bad-ish West Finals team, and the Nets will beat them. Right. Like that's how it sometimes happens. Like last year when you had the Lakers and the Heat. The Heat. Yeah, the Heat are like that team that is going to lose, what's going to get there. I feel like the Suns or like West will have a team like that.
I hope it's Luka, the best player in basketball.
Oh my God, that guy
unbelievable.
You named your son after him.
Yeah, you could hear him in the background. He wanted to talk about Luka, but I told him I would talk about him. But yeah, I mean he's incredible, that dude. He's putting that bum Porzingis on his back and carrying him. That guy sucks too, Porzingis. That's for another day. And it sucks because Luka's my favorite player in the NBA. And I can't root for the Mavericks because I can't stand Porzingis. So it's I'm in a pickle here. But I love watching Luka play. He's crazy.
Yeah, no, he's unbelievable, man. The way he uses his body, the way he's able to move around. He reminds me of, like, I call him, he's like a white James Harden. You know what I mean? He reminds me of him a little bit, like the way he moves and stuff. Frank,
I know you love Chris Paul. It's a good question for you.
All right, do you go after Chris Paul in free agency this year for the Knicks? Honestly, watch Nick TV. I have no idea. I flip a coin. If you're asking me, I wouldn't. I don't know. He's too old. He's too old. What are you going to get? I mean, listen, if Derrick Rose is not going to be able to play next year and you need someone to kind of just win you some games, but the Knicks have to make they have to put together a strategy to invest in a long-term point guard, somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah, it's not a strategy. I agree. That's kind of just like, we need a point guard. Paul's available. He's connected with the new Leon Rose group that they have there. So just bring him in because we're the Knicks. It feels like even if it is the right move, it doesn't feel like it feels like an old Knicks move, if that makes sense. To bring him in, because he's going to get paid he's going to be much better than Rose in the regular season. But how much more is he going to do for you than Rose did in the playoffs that he just put together? I don't know. I love Chris Paul if he was 10 years younger.
Yeah, no, Chris Paul, man, has been a pleasure watching that guy play. I hope at some point he can get a ring. I really like his game. I think his energy, his leadership. I mean, everywhere he goes, they're just better. We'll see tonight, though. Chris Paul, tonight's your night, brother. Let's see what you. Yeah, close out the Lakers tonight. Don't go into a game 7. If they go to a game 7, things are weird in game 7, especially
against a team
in game 7. I think so. He's not playing tonight.
No, tonight.
Right?
No. You heard Barkley called them street clothes? I was cracking up.
What do you call him?
Barkley calls AD street clothes because he never plays. Barkley's the best, dude. That's the best thing. The NBA got it right with that group. Is so funny. Oh yeah, they're hilarious. I love them too. They're when Shaq first got on the show, it was a little bit weird, but now they just all mesh perfectly. Yeah, because they're the fighting between Barkley and Shaq is perfect. Because I love the graphics and memes they put up too. They'll put the Barkley show like a crying baby on the floor, or Barkley on a pig or something. They just do all these funny graphics. It's an awesome show. That's you can't do better than that. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I literally look forward to it sometimes more than the game. Sometimes I know I can't wait for the game in the regular season for sure. All right, everyone, it's the end of the show. We are finito, and if you haven't tuned in yet, you can obviously always watch the replays. We have the replays up on our YouTube, so go to uSTADIUM on YouTube. You can go to the uSTADIUM app as well. Breaking tab, you go down and you'll find the show link there. We'll do our show next week. We'll release our top 10 running backs next week. So what we're going to do is we'll just keep releasing a top 10 on the Timeout show. We won't do it like we did tonight, though, where we have to go through the video. We can just release them. We'll drop them on Thursday at 6 p.m. We're going to post it on our Instagram. If you don't follow us on Instagram, you got to follow us on there, and Twitter at uSTADIUM. Get those subscribers up, baby. We got to move. We got to move there. We got to eat here. We're following, bro. We got to get to 100K on Instagram. I know. What's going on? We've been stuck at 80 for a minute. Jesus. I think it's the Russians. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. They're holding us back. Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, next week we'll have Hunter Biden will be joining us on the show. What emails? It's the email. The Fauci emails are. I don't understand. I read some of the Fauci email stuff. I don't know. Whatever he's emailing, he has said every opinion underneath the sun. I know that's the thing. It's because he has said A, he said B, he said Z. I mean, he's been right. He's also been wrong because he has said everything. So I don't understand why everyone's up in arms about this stuff. I don't know. I don't even want to get into politics. I will say it shouldn't be political, which is crazy. It's more of a public health thing than it is politics, but everything's political now. Yeah. Henry's chiming in. All right, Henry. This is going to become a uSTADIUM segment. We're going to end the show with political talk every week. All right, but no, definitely getting canceled. I love politics. I do. I swear I do. I love talking about it. I try to think outside the box sometimes. I will say this, if I had one opinion to give to people about politics, do not follow everything that your party is saying. It is dangerous. They want your votes.
That's all they care about. A lot of these politicians is your vote. They want to win. Like, we want app downloads and subscribers. They want your vote. So be careful when you listen to some of the agendas thrown out there in politics, because these aren't the nicest people in the world. When the doors close and the cameras aren't on them, they might sound dandy in front of the camera. When the doors close, things get a little grimy in politics. When you have that much money tied up into things. I mean, for example, not to get too much in, but I'm going in. The COVID vaccine crowned 9 new billionaires. 9 new billionaires became billionaires because of the COVID vaccine. So when you see things being pushed and stuff, look at the other side of the coin, because there's a lot of coins going around when stuff like this is at play. It can be very great, and we're not talking about millionaires, we're talking about billionaires. You know, I think the whole continent of Africa, for example, has like 15 billionaires. We have 9 just because of a vaccine. Put that in perspective. So I'm just saying, and that's just an example about how much money's thrown around in politics. Like, a decision like the government backing up something can make people billions upon billions of dollars in corporations, a lot of money. So, you know, it's just funny, you know, and it's like the same people that are against billionaires are the same ones that are championing something that's making more billionaires. Think about that as well. But that's just a little food for thought there, everyone. I'm gonna have a political
nice
show.
Little drop at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Hell yeah, Noah. Let's go, baby. Gonna have a $1 billion club. You're right at the front table, brother. I got a nice prime rib with your name on it. But
that's good.
All right. He's gonna go eat right now.
I know, I want a prime rib right now.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's a wrap. Shout outs to producer Splash. You kill it. Shout outs to everyone in the chat. Henry killing it all day, every day. Henry drops the dopest graphics. Noah, iOS dev in the house. We got Watch Nick TV. Colony. Holden was in the chat. Shout outs. Javier. We got Craig. Shout outs to you all. You guys rock. Wesley made an appearance tonight. Gotta love Wesley's Worldwide West. I don't even know where he is. One day, one country, the next. He's on.
I'll answer NY Jets Nation 98. He asked before we even started the show, any updates on Steven Nelson? I don't think he's coming to the Jets, so don't hold your breath there. But no, he's not. He's got a bunch of teams and he's looking to get paid, so he's waiting. You
want him? You take?
Oh yeah, I would take him in a second, but I don't think the Jets are going down that route.
Mock deal. What's like a deal? What's a year and
probably looking between $8 and $9 million a year. That's my guess. Nothing that I know, but I don't think he's signing anywhere for cheap. Otherwise, he would have already. He's got 6 or so teams interested.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Same with Sherman. He's not.
You would give him. I don't know, man. I feel something off with that whole with him. I don't know. I wouldn't give him $8 or $9 million a year, but I agree that seems to be like kind of his asking price.
Yeah,
I would I'd want to get what I'd take him for like a 316 deal, 317. I wouldn't pay him though more than that. I mean, if you're talking about $8 million a year, Nick, you're paying him $25 million over.
Yeah, it depends on what the deal looks like. I think the Jets just want to get some of these young players the reps in camp. That's what Saleh said is he's going to get. He doesn't want an older veteran to come in and take reps from some of these young guys they're trying to develop. So. If none of these young guys step up, in July and August, and some of the veteran guys, or maybe even a trade, if they're not looking any good and they need a corner, then you look for a veteran who doesn't need these reps in the summer, but these young kids do.
Nick, we got another question for you.
Brian Poole is not coming back. The Jets and Poole split last year. There was before when he got hurt, and I don't know what happened, but internally they both weren't happy with each other, and the Jets added, I think, 2 or 3 different inside corners, and he hasn't signed yet. So something's going on there that we all don't know about. Remember, last year he didn't have a big market either. He had to come back to the Jets late in free agency on a 1-year deal. So I think fans overrate Brian Poole, and I think it's because of the PFF numbers that you see. And the Jets usually are pretty weak at these inside slot corners, and I think you saw a little bit of success, like kind of what I talked about with the Knicks. Saw a little bit of success from Poole and overrated him a bit, and he's not as well thought of around the league as he is by Jet fans. So, no, he's not.
He had a good year last year, though.
2 years ago, he had a good year. Last year, he got hurt.
2 years ago. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but he was good, though.
He was really good, yeah.
He played the first He played how many games last year, though?
Probably like I don't even know. Probably 8.
Yeah, he
8 or
played
9.
like the first half of the season. He was good. I thought he was
Yeah,
good.
he's solid. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah,
player.
we're gonna wrap up the show. Shout outs to you all. We will be back next week. We'll launch our top 10 running backs. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, and we have a podcast too. The Timeout with uSTADIUM. You can get it on Apple, Spotify, and all them good podcast sites. All right, y'all. We are out.
See ya. Let's go Mets.